Right, the Living Memorial Trust, Mathew Brosnahan.
Right. Okay, great. Well, thank you for the opportunity to talk to the council. Talking to the issues around the Otokaikino Reserve, which is at the entrance to Christchurch, has been described as sort of one of Christchurch's best kept secrets. I don't know how many in the room here have been to Otokaikino. Mm-hmm. Great. Well, one of the issues with the Otokaikino is, well, one of the great things about with the new Christchurch Northern Corridor is that it'll be positioned at the entrance to Christchurch as a natural wetland feature, and we're trying to do everything we can to make it a real good sort of entrance feature. Next slide, please. Sorry. Right. Okay, so just a few things. The Otokaikino Reserve is a Department of Conservation reserve being restored in partnership with the Living Memorial Trust since 1992. So, and it's one of the few remaining wetlands that were once common in Christchurch, an area of cultural significance and ecological values, and all the waters in it are spring-fed within the reserve or from a neighbouring farm. There's no actually outside rivers or things, apart from the stormwater system coming from Belfast. So it's a blend of private enterprise with Lamb and Hayward and Department of Conservation, ECAN and community groups over the last 25 years. So it's quite unique in that it's not a burden on the Christchurch City Council ratepayers, and it's an excellent model of how you develop facilities for the Christchurch people without burden with rates. And it's just a peaceful place to have a walk around. We're currently doing an upgrade. We've had significant damage with the earthquake, and we're doing an upgrade at the moment, funded by Wellington Dock, and which will see a new bridge and walking track, and we'll relaunch it to the public in October as a key destination. Working with NZTA, we did a lot in the submission and negotiations with firstly with Western Belfast Bypass. We were able to get them to blend their planting up to the left on the embankment, and also they extended their wetland theme out beyond between the motorways. And one slight significant thing was that they had proposed extending, replanting the pine trees from the fanfare, and we were able to get them to change those to totara. So we had influence on the design of that motorway, that it blended in, and with the new Christchurch Northern Corridor, we were able to get that shifted 8 metres away from the reserve. And this is what I'm getting to, is the effect of being able to work with big organisations and planning people earlier on and get the best results. And what we're able to do there, that Cheney's on-ramp at the moment, that temporary on-ramp road, the only reason that came about is that we went to them and decided and pointed out that we were landlocked if they put that road hard up against. They made a concession to shift the motorway 8 metres and put in a gravel track, and then they decided that that was the ideal cost-effective way to put the temporary road in. So when they're finished now, that road will become an asset, and it actually gives it's an asset for the Department of Conservation because it's a service access, but also it's an access point for the Christchurch city, because the stormwater system from Belfast flows out to India, and it's gives access to it. So all it is being able to look at the big picture with these people, being able to negotiate and come out with a real good win-win situation. So we've got, instead of a gravel track, we've got a couple $100,000 road. So we've got the motorways progressing down the line, so what's next? Time to look at the Belfast Stormwater Treatment Facility, which is in the, something that we're really keen on, and also linking this new Christchurch Northern Corridor with the cycleway with our area. The untreated stormwater from Belfast is a significant issue to the wetland. It's the only sort of, if we're we're aiming for a sort of pristine wetland, and that's the only issue that's sort of holding us back. We need a collaborative approach to the wider area, and that's what I'm here to talk about, just for two main issues, the Belfast stormwater treatment and integrated transport planning. So this is just a sort of concept, and in the Belfast plan, in the longer term, with those blue squares up the top, is the proposed stormwater treatment ponds. And they sort of looked in isolation, whereas if you look at this visual of approaching Christchurch from the north with Autokaikino, you've got the motorway plantings which we've built on them, with the swales and that, they're all the same wetland theme, and now we've got the opportunity in the longer term plan to develop wetlands that will, they'll serve a function in terms of quality, but they'll serve an enormous visual function, and also it starts building this landscape that would be quite incredible as a northern approach to Christchurch. And the other potential there is a car park. At the moment, on the shared cycle path along the new motorway finishes just at the main North Road there, overpass at Autokaikino, or just past Autokaikino, and that's motorway land at the moment, and unfortunately it would have been a great thing it's still possible to get it in the motorway plan if there was a good lead from council that you could, rather than where that area is designated motorway land, it becomes surplus at the end, but rather than just have a cycleway finish there, why not have a formed car park? Now, we're not asking the council for $250,000 for a car park. What we're suggesting is go collectively to the Central Christchurch Northern Corridor Alliance and start working how you could do it while they've got all the machinery there and things, and you could get that formed. It could still be possible to fit it in.
But my brain doesn't do this very well. Is that south at the top?
Yes.
Right.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good,
sorry.
Good,
You're approaching Christchurch
yep.
from
No,
the north.
I'm with you now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, and with that, the new motorway, there's an overbridge over the main North Road. There's pedestrian access under the bridge, which would lead, and also it's an ideal place if you're going to have a cycleway, shared path. You don't want to just finish on a road edge. To have a facility where people can park their cars, bike and ride, catch a bus at the outskirts of Christchurch, but also, given in mind the stormwater treatment things, Autokaikino would like to be able to grow, where there's maybe opportunities within the stormwater to incorporate native plantings and conservation areas. So we've got this potential to develop a really neat entrance to Christchurch, and all it is just being able to look at the big picture and work in with, it's not big lots of money. And so to summarise then, the stormwater treatment facility is sort of critical for the restoration of wetland, and there is a need for that collective planning with water and transport for this area to enable the best possible final result.
Thank you. Any questions? Phil, David.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Just like you referred to the potential car park site for bike and ride, and I just wondered too, would there also be potential for park and ride for a bus service as well?
Yes, that's the blue bus goes through there.
Yeah.
I've at times caught the blue bus to work. They very nicely asked me, drop me off there, and it's a perfect site for
Yep. David?
Thank you. Look, it's the first time I've seen that particular plan, and what concerns me probably links into the previous subdivision. Do you have any idea where the proposed stormwater retention ponds for Belfast are to discharge? Are they to discharge to the Capitone, or are they
No,
to the South Branch?
They discharge, they come through the reserve and to the South Branch. We, yeah.
Well, certainly that possibly would, if these retention ponds are proposed and to be built, they could be of some assistance to removing some of the stormwater discharge that's currently coming from Belfast to the Capitone Creek and exacerbating river levels in the lower catchment. So I'd certainly sort of like to promote this particular floodwater, stormwater retention basins. It certainly has advantages for the Otakino reserve and potentially for the lower Styx catchment as well.
Yep. Look, that's great. It's a very good submission, and thank you for taking the time. It's always great to have these PowerPoint presentations as well. Just really gives a graphic image of what can be achieved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Could we